Nike sponsored the England women's national team at the 2023 Women's World Cup, and when fans tried to buy the jersey of the best goalkeeper on the planet, Nike's website had one answer: not available. Mary Earps had just saved a penalty in the semi-final. England was in its first Women's World Cup final in history, and she was the only player on that squad whose shirt you couldn't buy. If this sounds like a mistake, it wasn't. It was a decision. Subscribe and stay until the end, because this story doesn't end with the jersey. The 2023 Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand was the biggest women's football tournament in history. Record attendances, record broadcast deals, 64 matches across 20 cities. FIFA projected 2 billion viewers. England arrived as European champions. The Lionesses had won Euro 2022 on home soil, and they came to Australia with genuine belief they could go further. Mary Earps was their goalkeeper. She had been the best in the world, not by opinion, but by formal recognition. She would go on to win FIFA's Best Women's Goalkeeper Award for 2023, the second consecutive year she had taken that honor. But at the start of the tournament, Nike had made a quiet commercial decision. Goalkeeper kits for women's teams, they had concluded, were not worth producing for retail sale. The outfield players had their shirts. You could walk into a Nike store or click onto the website and buy the jersey of any England player in the squad, except one. Fans started noticing this around the group stage. Forum posts, Twitter threads, people looking for the goalkeeper jersey and finding nothing. Not low stock, not a wait list, nothing. Nike's position, when pressed, was that the goalkeeper kit was not part of the retail range for this cycle. No further explanation. This was not a supply chain issue. This was not an oversight. Nike had made a deliberate product decision that the goalkeeper jersey, specifically the women's goalkeeper jersey, did not justify a retail run. England beat Nigeria on penalties in the round of 16. They beat Colombia 2-1 in the quarterfinals. And in the semi-final against Australia, with England holding a 3-1 lead and Australia pressing, Mary Earps saved a penalty from Sam Kerr. Australia didn't score again. England was in the final. The internet exploded, and with it, something else. The jersey question came back louder than ever. Fans weren't just frustrated, they were furious. BBC ran it. Sports commentators who normally never talk about merchandise were talking about merchandise. Mary Earps addressed it directly. In an interview with BBC Sport, she confirmed she was aware of the situation and that she had raised it with Nike. She said, measured, professional, controlled, that she hoped it would be resolved. What she did not say, but what the timeline made clear, was that this conversation had been happening before the tournament started. Nike responded. Within days of the semi-final, facing an avalanche of public pressure during one of the highest visibility moments in women's football history, Nike reversed course. They announced a limited edition release of Mary Earps's goalkeeper jersey. It sold out. The speed of the sellout confirmed what Nike's original decision had denied. There was demand. There had always been demand. The question was never whether fans wanted the jersey. The question was whether Nike believed women's football fans were worth the production run. That is a different question entirely. After the tournament, England lost the final to Spain 1-0. Earps won the Golden Glove, the best goalkeeper in the world. And she had spent the most consequential weeks of her career watching fans search for a product her kit sponsor had chosen not to make. Nike never issued a detailed public explanation. No internal memo was leaked. No executive went on the record about the original decision. What the company offered was a reversal, a limited run, a sellout, and a quiet retreat from a position that had become indefensible. Earps, for her part, moved on with grace. She didn't call for boycotts. She didn't use the platform to attack the brand publicly. She acknowledged the reversal and thanked the fans who had pushed for it, but she also didn't pretend it hadn't happened. The Mary Earps jersey story is not really about a jersey. It is about a recurring assumption inside the sports industry, that women's sports exists on the margins, that women's sports fans are a secondary market, that the economics of women's sport do not justify the same commercial infrastructure that men's sport receives as a default. Nike's decision was not an act of malice. It was something more revealing than malice. It was habit. It was the kind of decision that gets made when an industry hasn't yet trained itself to think of women as the primary audience. The fans who searched for that jersey and found nothing weren't just frustrated consumers. They were demonstrating, with their credit cards ready, that the market existed. The demand was real. The infrastructure was missing. Goalkeeper jerseys are not a luxury item in men's football. They are standard retail. The decision not to produce one for the best goalkeeper in the world during a World Cup was not based on economics. It was based on assumption. When the assumption became visible, it collapsed in 72 hours. That is worth remembering. Not because this particular story ended with a jersey, but because every time the demand is made visible, the assumption has to answer for itself. Mary Earps made her saves, the fans made the noise, and Nike had to answer. If you've been following stories like this, where the system underestimates women's sport and gets proven wrong, hit subscribe. There's more where this came from.